There's grease everywhere, all over the bolts, and lots of wiggling. They pretty much out. Oh. Morning YouTube channel. It's not Halloween, this is just an old t-shirt. I've got no fashion sense, don't worry about me. The Civic is behind us. In the last episode we actually took it on track for the first time. Well, I say we didn't have time to all take it out. Ronnie took it out and a couple of weren't passengers. It made it around. It actually made it around. It's alive, it's not dead. Well, the engine's alive and the gearbox is alive, but the part of the suspension at the front is dead. It did take a hammering, and if you don't remember, we actually went out on a drive shaft that was like, we shouldn't have, but we had no choice because only one drive shaft arrived. But the other drive shaft has arrived as well. This side is the drive shaft, which basically just disintegrated on track, we guess, because there's just grease everywhere. There's just drive shaft grease everywhere on the inside of that wheel well. I'm not looking forward to taking it off. But there's also the knock-in that was there before is worse, and it's coming from the steering rack, we believe. There's tons of play in that offside wheel, and we played it, and it's the steering rack that's moving. So today's the first time we're like not going to be in a rush. We've not got any track days planned, we haven't got anything planned with it, so we can just take our time now and actually get it fixed. So we're just going to get the whole front end off the car, get it in the air, get the wheels off, just get it in a comfortable position to work on, and just see what needs doing. We're going to have a proper look under the car because it did take a hammering. There's a few things we need to fix as well, which we didn't have time to do. So today we're fixing the Civic. We're going to see what damage has been done by ragging it around track, or time attack driver ragging it around track, and fix what needs to be done. So yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so we've just got the wheel off, and coming behind here you can see what's happened. This CV boot is ruined. There's grease everywhere, all over the bolts. Absolutely disgusting. It's even come like inside the wheel well here. It's just obviously just been spinning so quick. This was the drive shaft which we had to bodge last minute just to even make it out on track, and you can see that bit stood up, but this bit hasn't. We kind of expected it, but we didn't have any other choice but to just see if we could make it work. We had to use little Jubilee clips, and I don't know what's happened. It looks pretty, I don't know if it's just a boot or it's actually like absolutely ruined inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this drive shaft off, which isn't too big of a deal. I do believe we have to get the bottom arm off, or we can even just pull these away and just pull the hub forward, whatever's easier. I think it's quite difficult to get the bottom arms back on, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the bottom arms on and just pull them off from the hub here. So I'll just pull the hub away, and then hopefully the drive shaft just falls through, because last time I took the bottom arm off and it was quite a bit of a nightmare trying to get the bottom arms back onto the arms, I won't lie. So yeah, let's get this drive shaft off. I can actually see, I've looked, and it actually looks like a gearbox bolt is missing there. I'm not sure where that's gone. I actually don't know where that's gone. So yeah, we're gonna have a good look under the car and look at everything. Some bolts might have worked where they're way loose, but I can definitely see one missing there. Hopefully we can have some spare ones. Don't know, maybe that's happened on track, not sure. Yeah, I don't know, this car was put together by us in the rain, so if I forgot to torque a bolt down, can you blame me, everyone? I wouldn't blame me, although I know everyone else is going to. So with the hub away from the strut, you can just pop the drive shaft out. It's so much easier than taking the ball joint off. But yeah, this CV boot is just absolutely ripped. So we're going to pull this drive shaft out, and we'll probably see where it's split. But we have got a new drive shaft, so we'll just bang that end this side, and then think about getting underneath the car and seeing if there are any more bolts missing from that gearbox, and also start having a look at the other side as well. Make sure the other side drive shaft is fine. Okay, so here is the old drive shaft, is the new one. So these are a company called JR Drive Shafts. I've used them once before in the past, and they're like, you can actually get cheap drive shafts. They're around about like 40 or 50 quid for a drive shaft, and they're actually like decent quality. They're heavy, they use thick metal, they look decent quality. I've never had problems with them, but we actually put a new JR drive shaft on this side, and I think someone says that the boot is split. So we'll double check that in a minute, because that's the new JR drive shaft. So if it's gone after one day on track, then maybe not. But yeah, this is the the new JR drive shaft. So let's just get this drive shaft in, and then we'll inspect the other one. For a quick inspection there, I don't think the boot's split. I think it's just kind of just folded over on itself a little bit. Maybe just needs a little bit of repositioning, but yeah, it looks okay to me. I can't see any grease or anything around there. Yeah, so let's just get this drive shaft in. Pretty simple to be fair, just pop it in. Just inspected the drive shaft seal, and it looks like maybe a tiny bit of oil was leaking down there at one point. Now I'm not sure if that's a drive shaft seal, or it's obviously just when I get a little bit of gearbox oil spilled out when I pulled the drive shaft out. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, drive shaft's pretty easy to do, to be fair, as long as you've got the right tools. Set the hub nuts off. So that's a 36mm. Most toolboxes don't come with these 36mm, so I had to buy this separate and just keep it in this box here. But what you'll find is actually quite a lot of hub nuts for all different cars. I actually bought this for a Renault initially. It was a Renault hub nut 36mm for a Megane, but it's used on this Honda, it's used on my Nissan S13. A lot of them use 36mm, so my advice would just be to buy a 36mm nut like this, or a socket like this, and you'll find it probably fits most drive shafts. Okay, so this drive shaft is perfectly fine. This was a little bit twisted, like, so the rubber here was a little bit twisted, a little bit, but I've literally just managed to pull it around my hand so it's straight, and there's no slits or anything. It's all good. So this drive shaft is good, and I've just tightened that clamp a little bit more just on there so it doesn't do it again, but it was ragged around. Worryingly, I've been pulling this side of the wheel, and I think the play is coming from these arms. When you've got these extended arms like this, you have two levels of adjustment, and I think that this one, because I can literally feel the play in it in my hand there. Look at that. I've loosened this nut off, and there's a load of play there. So to me, that's not got enough threads on the end of that one. It should have been adjusted from this bit here, but I feel like it's been adjusted from here in the past. And see that play? And that would make an incredibly loud note when you've got the weight of the wheel on. So what I'm going to take the trap rod off and just see how many times it's threaded in on this one, and then maybe thread it in that one, but then thread it out on this side just to counteract it. But that to me is definitely not good. So we've been doing some experimenting. We're getting tons of play on this side, absolutely tons and tons of play, just side to side play, and it looks like it's coming from the trap rod. Now it literally looks like it's coming from here, and that really wouldn't make the most sense because we've got new trap rods, but we thought, well, let's just do it anyway. Let's just test the trap rod. So we took the trap rod off the other side, put it on this one just to make sure the trap rod wasn't faulty, and it's not the trap rod, it's still doing it on this side. So there's either two things that are happening. Either the hole in here has worn that much that the trap rod isn't sitting in it properly, but I can't see that being the issue. And even if it is, even if it was super tight, it wouldn't have that much play. Or it's further down the line. Now they are new tie rods, so we can't really tie rods. So obviously we all know that Hondas, especially the EP3s, the steering racks are horrendous, and every single one of them has so much play. I'd say most Hondas I've drove have vagueness from the steering wheel, and it's due to the steering racks. And we've always been saying, if you've been watching the videos, we've been saying from the start, the steering rack, we want to change the steering rack, we know it's vague, we have so many issues with the steering rack. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop putting it off. We know it's not the trap rod, we know it's not the tie rod, it's going to be something further down the line. So it's either going to be the rack slider or the steering rack itself. So what I'm going to do now is remove, or attempt to remove. Now we'll get it out, I just don't know how long it's going to take me. It looks pretty easy, but then again, if it looks easy, it usually isn't. We're going to remove the steering rack and there's quite a few on eBay for like 60 quid. So we're just going to get a second-hand steering rack, one with the most information as possible about the mileage and stuff, and put a new steering rack in there. There's like 4 bolts inside, and it should maybe just start to pull out through here. I don't know, but we'll see. So that is going to be the job now. Let's get this steering rack out. Okay, so to remove the rack, I've just took them 2 electrical connectors off there. There's 2 big bolts here which actually go through the rack itself, and they're 2 17s. You can get them off on this side, but the other side, to get them off, you need to remove this little strut brace thing here. They're 12mm and they're pretty rusty. What I found works best is to get a 6-point, not a 12-point. I've only got that in a 1/4 mil. We'll put that on there, and obviously they're quite tight. And then I just got a little cheater bar, so I've just got the end of a end of a cycle post here. And I think when rusty bolts like this, they're best not to pull on them because it'll strip, but just give them a knock, either with your hand or the hammer, just to break it off. I've got the other side off, so I'm just getting these two on this side off now. And then we can, I think we might have to remove these two ones under here as well, maybe not, I think it'll come off. But this little strut brace thing does need to come off. It needs to come off anyway, because otherwise you won't be able to pull it out, so. There's that. So with that off, we can get to this, well hopefully, this last 17mm here. So this side's actually a nut, the other side of bolts, I'm guessing that's just to align it, but these are quite tight, so trying to loosen it off is going to be a lot harder on the side, so we've got to press it up. So yeah, I might try and get a hammer on here and just knock it up. If not, use some brute strength. Okay, so it's pretty hard, so what I do, I've got a breaker bar on it, and just where the awkwardness of the bolt was, I couldn't break bar it loose, I could break bar it tight, so I went tighter one, that just basically cracked all the rust off, whatever, and then I got the normal 1/2 inch on, and then I could loosen it off quite easy. So that's ready to pull out now, so we're going to go to the other side. I think it's easy to pull it out that way. Okay, so the steering rack is ready to come out, it's all loose, so we're just going to have to just disconnect it from the steering column. So we're going to come in here, and what we're going to see is, you see these here, there is a 10mm there, and that's just going to be connected. We can turn the steering so you can see it. See the 10mm bolt there? That's just going to be connecting the steering column to like the U-shaped bend. So I'm going to take that one off, and hopefully that'll disconnect. If not, there's another one here. So just going to disconnect this 10mm at the bottom here. So I'm going to turn the steering wheel. Might be easier if it is tight just to put the steering lock on. Yeah, so I took off the bottom one and it's kind of just like fell out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside the car, pull the rack, and it should just come out now, just come off that. So here is the fun thing, we're going to try and have to wiggle it out. And I don't know what's the best way to do it. Okay, the more I struggle, the more I realise I'm probably not going to get it out with that motor off. So there's two 12mm bolts on each side of it. I'm going to see if I can just get that off, and then that should make the job a fair bit easier, to be honest. So two 12mm bolts and a bit of prying, this thing will just come off. So hopefully now got enough room to wiggle it through here. I think it's still going to be a bit of a tricky because it's not exactly light, but hopefully we'll have enough room. I'm trying to come out this way because I feel like the brake boost on the other side is going to just cause issue getting it out together. I'm having issues getting it out. I wouldn't be having issues. Like this rack riser spacer thing is just causing ag. It's spaced the arms out, but it means you can't really get it through anywhere. And I'm trying to get it off, and I don't know what the hell's been used to tighten these two bolts, but it's rounding the 17mm nut before the nut's coming loose. Right, I unbolted this little bracket, little 10mm, and lots of wiggling. It's pretty much out. There we go. If you're doing this, hopefully you've got one without the rack spacer, because that's the reason it took so long to get out. I couldn't get these tie rods off. I actually could not get the tie rods off. It's actually been rounding the metal on there quicker than it's been getting it off. And it's the exact same with these bolts as well. See how it's been rounding it? But it's out. It's actually would be an easy job. I would just in the future take these off first, but I couldn't get them off. I genuinely couldn't get them off. But if I could take that off first next time, and then it'll come out easy. Definitely take that thing off. I went for the driver's side, but you probably could go for the passenger side, but what worked best for me was going through the driver's side. But it's out. Let's see if I can actually even get these off. Let's see how tight they are. Literally. Oh my god, got it. Footy hell. Oh, Jesus Christ. So I could have never have done that on the car. I've never had any room. Nowhere near enough room to be doing that on the car. See if I can get this one off. Oh. Okay, so it's starting to rain, so we're going to call it a day here. Got the steering rack off there, got everything off. The two options are to rebuild this one, but I don't think that's a good idea. The rack slide looks in good condition, and there's a lot of play somewhere. I think we should just get a different second-hand steering rack. As you've seen, everything on this car has just been totally broken every single way, so I would just get rid of that steering rack. There's a lot of play in it somewhere, and it's not obvious where it's coming from, so I don't think rebuilding it's going to help. So all we're going to do is change the rack slide. I'm not a professional steering rack rebuilder, do you know what I mean? So I think just get a second-hand steering rack and maybe put a slider in it. Yeah, there's the steering rack. At least it's off. At least the new one's ready to go in. I'm going to tidy up, and it's absolutely pissing it down. So I suppose in the next episode we'll have a new steering rack in there. Yeah, hopefully we can just get some better brakes in it and then just leave it as a track car then, you know, sort of thing, for however long Neil wants to keep it for. But yeah, that's it for me. That was a very annoying job. Could have been made 10 times easier, but it is what it is. So we'll see you in the next episode, and yeah, when we decide what's going to happen to this car.